What if I told you a storm once destroyed the entire world? Not just a city, not just a nation, but everything. Mountains disappeared beneath the water. People screamed as the skies opened in fury. But in the middle of the chaos, one man obeyed God and built a giant ark that would save humanity forever. This is the unbelievable story of Noah and the Great Flood. In the beginning, the earth was filled with beauty and peace. Vast rivers flowed through green valleys. Waterfalls thundered across the mountains, and animals wandered freely across the land. Families worked together, children played in open fields, and humanity lived beneath the blessings of God. The world was calm, pure, and full of life. Every sunrise painted the earth with hope, and every evening ended in peace. But this beautiful world would not remain the same forever. As generations passed, the hearts of people slowly changed. Greed replaced kindness. Violence replaced peace. Powerful men oppressed the weak, and selfishness spread across the earth like darkness swallowing light. Cities became filled with crime, hatred, and corruption. People lied, stole, fought, and ignored the ways of God completely. Humanity became consumed by evil desires, and the earth itself groaned beneath the weight of human wickedness. But among all the people alive during that dark time, one man remained faithful. His name was Noah. While the world around him descended into sin, Noah chose righteousness. He honored God, lived honestly, and walked faithfully each day. Noah was humble, patient, and obedient. Even when surrounded by corruption, he refused to follow the evil ways of society. God saw Noah's pure heart and chose him for a mission that would change history forever. Noah lived peacefully with his wife, his 3 sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. Together they formed a faithful family in a world filled with chaos. Around campfires and beneath the stars, Noah taught his family about God, truth, and obedience. Though darkness covered the earth, Noah's home remained a place of faith, unity, and hope. They had no idea that their lives were about to become part of the greatest survival story humanity would ever know. One day, God spoke directly to Noah. The creator of heaven and earth revealed that humanity's evil had become too great. Violence and corruption filled every corner of the world. God told Noah that a great flood would soon cleanse the earth. Every living thing outside the plan of salvation would perish beneath the waters. But because Noah remained faithful, God promised to save him and his family from the coming destruction. God gave Noah detailed instructions to build a massive ark unlike anything ever seen before. This enormous vessel would protect Noah's family and the animals of the earth during the flood. The ark would have multiple levels, giant storage rooms, and enough space to survive the terrible storm ahead. Though the task seemed impossible, Noah did not question God. He trusted every word and prepared to obey, even when nobody else would understand. Without delay, Noah and his sons began cutting enormous trees and shaping giant wooden beams. Day after day, they worked beneath the burning sun, slowly constructing the enormous ark by hand. The sound of hammers echoed across the land as the skeleton of the great vessel rose higher and higher. Every plank placed into the ark was an act of faith. Noah continued building, trusting God completely even though he had never seen a flood before. As the ark grew larger, crowds gathered to laugh at Noah. People mocked him endlessly, calling him foolish and insane. They could not understand why anyone would build a giant ship in the middle of dry land. Some pointed and laughed while others insulted him openly. But Noah did not stop. He warned the people that judgment was coming and urged them to turn away from evil. Yet nobody listened. The world chose pride instead of repentance. Years passed as Noah faithfully continued building the ark. Through heat, storms, and endless ridicule, he never gave up. His sons worked beside him, carrying wood, shaping beams, and strengthening the massive structure. Seasons changed around them, yet Noah's obedience remained unwavering. While the world continued chasing corruption and pleasure, Noah prepared for the future exactly as God commanded. Every passing year brought humanity closer to the day of judgment. At last, after many years of hard work, the ark stood complete before the world. Towering above the land like a wooden mountain, it was one of the greatest structures ever built by human hands. Massive walls stretched toward the sky, and enormous doors guarded the entrance. Noah and his family looked upon the completed ark with awe and gratitude. Soon, this mighty vessel would become humanity's only refuge from the coming flood. Then something miraculous happened. Animals from every part of the earth began traveling toward the ark. Great elephants marched across the plains while lions walked calmly beside sheep. Deer, horses, wolves, and countless other creatures approached in perfect order. The hand of God guided them all. Noah and his family watched in amazement as creation itself obeyed the Creator's command. The great rescue of life upon earth had begun. Birds filled the heavens in enormous flocks. Eagles soared through the clouds while doves, ravens, parrots, and sparrows circled above the ark. Their cries echoed across the darkening skies as they descended toward safety. The world had never witnessed such a sight before. It was as though all creation understood that something terrible was approaching. Every wingbeat carried another living creature toward survival inside the ark. One by one, the animals entered the ark in peaceful pairs. Massive giraffes bent their necks beneath the giant doorway, while tiny insects crawled carefully inside. Lions walked beside zebras without violence. Wolves entered quietly among sheep. Noah and his family guided every creature into its place. Food and supplies were stored carefully throughout the ark. Slowly, the vessel became filled with the sounds of life waiting to survive the coming storm. Before the flood began, Noah gave humanity one final warning. He pleaded with the people to change their ways and return to God. But the crowds only laughed harder. They continued eating, celebrating, and living as though nothing would happen. Nobody believed the flood was real. Nobody imagined that judgment was standing at their doorstep. Yet dark clouds were already beginning to gather above the earth. As the skies turned dark and the winds grew stronger, Noah knew the moment had come. He gathered his family and led them into the ark. They carried supplies, tools, and everything needed for survival. Outside, thunder rolled across the heavens while distant lightning flashed above the mountains. One final time, Noah looked upon the world he had known all his life. Then he stepped inside the ark with his family. Then something extraordinary happened. God himself shut the great door of the ark. The enormous wooden entrance closed with finality, sealing Noah, his family, and the animals safely inside. Outside, the world continued in ignorance, unaware that their final opportunity had passed. Darkness spread across the sky, and silence fell before the storm. The moment of judgment had finally arrived. At first, only a few drops of rain fell from the heavens. People looked upward in confusion as cold water touched the ground. Then more drops followed. The skies darkened rapidly, and thunder shook the earth. Fear began spreading across the land as the rain intensified beyond anything humanity had ever seen. What once seemed impossible was now becoming terrifyingly real. The heavens exploded with rain. Water poured down endlessly while underground fountains burst open beneath the earth. Rivers overflowed instantly, and violent floods rushed through cities and villages. Massive waves crashed across the land as destruction spread everywhere. Lightning tore across the skies while thunder echoed through the mountains. The great flood had begun, and nothing outside the ark could escape its power. Panic consumed humanity as floodwaters swallowed everything in their path. Families ran desperately for higher ground, while buildings collapsed beneath the raging waters. Trees were ripped from the earth, and entire cities disappeared beneath giant waves. Fear and chaos spread across the world as people realized Noah had spoken the truth. But now it was too late. The flood continued rising without mercy. Amid the terrifying storm, the ark rose safely upon the waters. Giant waves crashed against its wooden walls while lightning illuminated the darkness around it. Inside the ark, Noah and his family trusted God completely. Though the world outside was drowning in destruction, God protected those within the ark exactly as he had promised. The great vessel floated safely through the endless storm. Inside the ark, Noah and his family worked tirelessly every day. Thousands of animals needed food, water, and care. Lanterns illuminated the wooden halls as the family moved from room to room, feeding creatures large and small. Outside, storms continued raging violently, but inside the ark there was order, survival, and hope. Day after day, Noah trusted God while caring for every living creature aboard the ark. For 40 days and 40 nights, rain poured endlessly from the sky. The storm never stopped. Waves crashed against the ark while dark clouds covered the heavens completely. Inside the vessel, Noah's family could only wait and trust in God's protection. Time seemed endless as the floodwaters continued rising higher and higher across the earth. Soon, even the mountains disappeared beneath the floodwaters. The earth became a vast, endless ocean stretching in every direction. No cities remained visible. No forests survived above the waters. Only the ark floated alone upon the silent deep. Humanity's old world had vanished completely beneath the judgment of the flood. After many weeks of destruction, the storm finally began to fade. The rain stopped falling, and sunlight slowly pierced through the dark clouds for the first time in months. Calm waters replaced violent waves, and peace returned to the skies. Though the world had changed forever, hope slowly began rising once again inside the ark. One day, the ark suddenly stopped moving. After drifting across endless waters, it had come to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. Surrounded by mist and silence, the great vessel remained high above the receding waters. Noah knew that God was guiding them toward a new beginning, but they still waited patiently for the earth to dry completely. To discover whether dry land had appeared, Noah opened the window of the ark and released a raven into the skies. The bird flew across the waters, searching for a place to rest. Noah watched carefully, hoping the floodwaters were finally disappearing. The future of humanity depended upon what waited beyond the endless sea. Later, Noah released a dove from the ark. At first, the bird returned because it could find no place to land. But after several more days, Noah released the dove again. This time, it returned carrying a fresh olive leaf in its beak. Noah's heart filled with joy and relief. The earth was healing. Life was returning once again. As the waters continued disappearing, green valleys and hills slowly emerged beneath the sunlight. Rivers flowed once again through the renewed earth while plants and trees began growing across the land. The world that had once been destroyed was now alive again. After months of waiting inside the ark, Noah and his family could finally see the promise of a fresh beginning. Finally, God commanded Noah and his family to leave the ark. One by one, the animals stepped out onto dry ground and spread across the earth once more. Noah and his family stood beneath the open sky, breathing fresh air and gazing upon the renewed world before them. The long journey through the flood had finally come to an end. The first thing Noah did after leaving the ark was worship God. He built an altar and gave thanks for the mercy and protection that had carried them safely through the flood. Noah understood that every moment of survival had come from God's grace. As smoke rose into the heavens, gratitude filled the hearts of Noah and his family. Then God placed a brilliant rainbow across the sky. Stretching above the renewed earth, it became a symbol of God's everlasting promise. God declared that never again would a flood destroy the entire world. The rainbow would remain a sign of mercy, hope, faithfulness, and new beginnings for every generation to come. And so, the story of Noah and the great flood became one of the most powerful stories ever told. It is a story of faith during darkness, obedience during uncertainty, and hope after destruction. Noah trusted God when nobody else would listen, and because of that faith, humanity survived. Even today, whenever a rainbow appears in the sky, people remember the promise God made long ago after the flood.